Hello, the world. This is They Will Kill, a true crime podcast. I am Courtney-Eck.
And I'm Sadie-Eck.
Not much has changed. We still talk about murder every week, twice a week. So if you're here for that, you're in the right place. And it's Sadie's night to talk about it.
Yeah, you ready? Are you ready for this?
Born ready and
Good.
remain ready. What do you got for us tonight?
This is the abduction of Heather Teague.
All right. Just abduction?
Just as far as we know.
Oh, God. One of those. All right.
Yeah. On August 26, 1995, 23-year-old Heather Teague was sunbathing on the banks of the Ohio River at Newburgh Beach in Spotsville, Kentucky. What Heather didn't realize that hot summer day was she was being watched.
No.
Not just by one man, but by two.
At the same time or separately?
Separately.
No. Shut it.
Just before 1 p.m. on the other side of the river in Indiana, a man named Tim Walthall had his telescope out and said he was watching the birds near the river.
Oh, God.
But other reports said he was a perv who was really watching women on the beach as they sunbathed.
Maybe both. Maybe
Probably
both can be
both.
true. Both
Yes.
can be true.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
As he was scanning the beach, he noticed Heather laying on her stomach on the beach lounge chair she had brought with her that day. And as he watched, he saw a man crouching in the woods near where Heather was laying.
I have chills all over my entire body. I mean, people are not necessarily going out of their way to check out my hot bod, but the thought that a person could be watching you, let alone multiple people could be watching you at the same time, is probably the worst thing you've ever said on this podcast.
I completely agree with you.
That's so horrifying.
Yes. Walthall said the man would stand up, take 5 to 6 steps toward the young woman, and then crouch again in the high weeds. He's got a telescope. He's watching this happen with his telescope. I mean, it's one, not two, but I mean, God, I hate it.
I'm so scared. And what do you do? I mean, you're across the river, right? She's
Right.
across the river in another state. And those are big rivers that separate states.
Yes, and he had a high-powered
90s.
telescope, so it's not like he was just with binoculars on the other side of the bank.
I'm so stressed out. Throw rocks. Throw a pigeon.
I know. Air horn. What are those called?
Yes, air
Yes.
horns.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to keep one around just for this occasion, just in case.
Yep. He described him to be about 6'1" and around 230 pounds with a noticeable pot belly. He was shirtless with possibly bushy hair and a beard, or maybe was wearing a mosquito netting over his head. And we're going to talk about that more later. So just sort of put that aside for now.
Yeah.
The man was holding a gun.
Oh my God.
And Walthall noticed the man's hands turned into his body in an unusual way.
Mm-hmm.
Tim watched in horror as the man kneeled by the woman and put his arm across her back, which triggered a sudden struggle.
Is he calling 911 at this point?
Nope. The man then grabbed the woman's long brown hair, twisted it around his hand 3 times, pulled her head back, and yanked her off the chair.
I'm gonna pass out.
He then dragged her off into the woods.
Oh my God.
After this, Heather vanished.
No, absolutely nope.
Mm-hmm.
Maximum nope.
So this is why I think that Tim was being a little pervy.
Mm-hmm.
So he hesitated to call police, afraid he would get in trouble. But he finally decided to call 911 and report what he saw. Unfortunately, 45 precious minutes had passed before police were able to get to the spot where Heather had been.
It's awful.
In one of the interviews I read, they interviewed Tim, and he was like, yeah, I could see in the bushes where she was struggling, like the bushes were moving. And I'm like, how are you just watching? Like, please get up and do something. Like, scream. Let him know that you see him. Like, it can't be that far that you can't make some sort of commotion.
Anything. Literally
Like,
anything is better
he's
than
in
just sitting
Indiana.
there.
Get a gun and shoot it into the air or something.
Totally.
Like,
They're
please.
just guns lining the streets of Indiana. We live
Something.
there. They're everywhere.
Get in your car and drive. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I just can't. I can't.
Get on your
forgive it.
Ski-Doo and Ski-Doo
Yes.
across. There's
Swim.
options.
Jump in the water.
Pontoon. Anything. Anything. I
Yes.
can't. I can't.
No.
Okay.
So Tim did give a full statement and worked with a sketch artist to come up with an image of the man he'd witnessed taking Heather. Mm-hmm. The only evidence found after a search of the beach and the surrounding wooded area was Heather's towel, her notebook, and pieces of the red plaid bikini she had been wearing. A farmer who owned land near the parking lot of the beach had just so happened to be taking video footage of crop damage in his fields and managed to capture footage of Heather getting out of her car that day. The video showed a red and white Ford Bronco parked near Heather's car. As word of her abduction spread and the description of the Bronco and composite sketch were released to the public, tips started to flood in. Many people called to say the sketch looked like a local man named Marvin Dill. Police decided to talk to Dill, and when they went to Dill's property, they found his red and white Bronco hidden in the woods near his mobile home. It had been freshly cleaned, but they noticed a small bloodstain on the tailgate of the truck. They believed this was the same vehicle that was caught on the tape by the farmer. This case was a little tricky because I found a lot of different information, or like really big parts of what, like things that I would consider really important weren't mentioned very often. And so I don't know if it's true or not. You know, I couldn't, what's the word I'm looking for?
Hate that.
Corroborate it. Yeah. So like one of the things I read was that he had a specific vanity plate that you could see in the video, and that his Dill's Bronco also had the same plate. So it seemed like police were pretty sure that this Bronco was the same, but I couldn't find that out for sure. Yes, thank you. Confirm.
Yes, it happens a lot. If people who are not making true crime podcasts, it's kind of unbelievable how much different information gets put out there.
Right. Well, I think sometimes
and not even
we
just
have
like on Murderpedia or something, but even between like a show where the detectives are talking, you know, like an LA Times article and something, you know, it's like there'll be different accounts, and it's really hard to tell which one is true. Yeah.
And especially when we do a podcast like we do, where we're not the journalists, like being, I feel like we get into bad cases of telephone sometimes where it's like this article said this thing and then this blogger accidentally changed a piece of it or did it on purpose or whatever. And then, so by the time we get to it, it's like, ooh, okay.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Take it with a grain of salt.
Exactly.
Yep.
Okay, so they saw a bloodstain on the tailgate of the truck, and they believed that this was the same vehicle that was caught on tape by the farmer. When they approached Dill's house, his wife came out, but Dill refused. As soon as Dill's wife was outside, police heard a single gunshot and rushed inside to find Dill dead from a single bullet wound to his head.
No.
So police believed Dill's death by suicide was an admission to his involvement in Heather's disappearance, and it proved that he was the one who had attacked her.
I mean, certainly doesn't look good. That's for sure.
No. They learned that a few months before Heather disappeared, Dill was pulled over because of reports from concerned citizens who saw him driving around Evansville, Indiana, trying to, quote, pick up young girls.
Ugh.
And this is another thing. Some of the reports I read said it was just a traffic stop. It doesn't say anything about the very important piece of picking up young girls, trying to.
Yep.
In his vehicle, police found 2 guns, 2 knives, rubber gloves, duct tape, and rope.
Also, does not look good.
No.
God.
Dill was arrested, but with no evidence he'd committed any crimes that day, he was later released. Dill was also a suspect in the sexual assault of a woman in Oak Grove Cemetery in Blackford, Kentucky, after someone tipped off police that he could be their suspect. But because of a partial disguise the perpetrator wore over his face, the victim was not able to positively identify him, so he was never charged for the crime. Investigators brought Tim Walthall into the morgue to look at Dill and see if he was the man he'd witnessed on the beach. But Tim noticed Dill's head had been shaved and wasn't sure if it was the same person. It turns out Dill, who usually had bushy hair and a beard, had been forced to shave his head and face while in jail because of a lice outbreak 2 weeks before Heather was attacked.
Ooh, interesting. That's a big detail.
Yes. Investigators weren't able to match the blood found on the Bronco to Heather, and no other evidence was found linking her to Dill.
So maybe Dill shot himself because he had been doing other naughty things, but he didn't do that naughty thing, and he got scared, and he just,
Yeah, possibly.
got it.
So Dill's family, including his wife, refused to cooperate with police or answer any of their questions. In a grand jury deposition, Dill's wife pleaded the fifth and stayed quiet. So without any solid evidence or other good leads, Heather's case grew cold. Investigators tried to comfort Heather's family and told her mom, Sarah, that they believed Dill had been the one to take Heather that day, but Sarah couldn't rest without knowing where her daughter was or if she was dead or alive.
Right.
Totally
We don't have a
understand.
body or anything. Yeah.
Right. When there was no more movement in the case, Sarah started to ask for more information from the Kentucky State Police. She was able to learn that at some point in the years after Heather's disappearance, the FBI got involved in the investigation, but it's still pretty unclear why. Rumors started to spread that Heather had been involved in an undercover drug operation of some sort and had possibly been moved to the witness protection program, but those rumors were never substantiated. And also, if somebody's attacking, like if that's how you get moved into the protection program, like...
You have to go into hiding. You
Right
have
now.
to. I'm going to drag you by your hair into hiding. Yeah.
No. Yeah. I mean, unless
Interesting.
the person that she was trying to hide from got to her before they could put her in the protection program, but still.
Exactly. But still. Yeah.
An FBI agent wrote in 2005, quote, presently, attention is primarily being focused on the strong possibility of drug/prostitution in, quotes, strip club / public corruption link to Heather Teague's abduction. So that's a lot of things, like
Yeah.
possible drug, his words, prostitution, public corruption.
Yeah.
Investigation continuing is what his memo said. And in 2007, an FBI synopsis of the case also mentioned that something which was redacted in the memo was being, quote, kept a secret by the KSP, by the Kentucky State Police. No family member or attorney is aware of it, the memo said. So there is...
I don't understand what that means.
It just means that there is... It was a heavily redacted memo that Sarah was able to get from the FBI, and that there was some sort of secret being kept from everybody.
It's
That
like
the
Johnny Gotch stuff.
Right. So the Kentucky State Police is keeping something hidden from everybody. Whether it's a piece of evidence or we don't
Right.
know. But nobody's in on it.
Interesting.
So as Sarah dug deeper, she started to suspect that the KSP, the Kentucky State Police, it sounds really like, when I say KSP, it sounds really
Like KGB.
mysterious. Yeah. So I feel like maybe I'll just say, because I'll stop saying that. Because they're not very mysterious. So they were trying to cover up information in her daughter's case. In 2008, after years of asking, authorities finally let Sarah listen to the 911 call from Tim, the guy who saw
Yep.
the abduction. When she asked to listen again in 2016, she said they had her listen to a doctored call. It was different from the first tape she'd heard.
What is happening?
According to Sarah, in the 2008 call, Tim said that the man could have had bushy hair and a beard, or may have been wearing that mosquito netting or a wig. But then in 2016, when she listened again, she said Tim did not mention the netting or the wig. Sarah even took the Kentucky State Police to court to force them to release parts of Heather's case file to her. The KSP refused, but a judge ruled in Sarah's favor. They had to give her the 911 calls and pay $25,000 in legal fees.
Wow.
Yep. Sarah believes police were trying to make Dill fit into the evidence by adding the mosquito netting or wig information after the fact, but that Tim hadn't originally said those things.
Got it.
So in the first call was doctored in 2000, the one that she listened to in 2008. And then they gave her the wrong version in 2016 without that added information, is what she's thinking.
Interesting. So they added the mosquito net bushy hair thing.
Yeah, or they had Tim call again, or who knows how they
Right.
doctored it, but that's what she's thinking. That's what Sarah's thinking.
How weird.
And in where she took them to court, there wasn't any dispute that she had actually heard two different versions of the call. So it's not like she just misheard. And her attorney was with her when they listened to the 911 call, so it definitely was two different versions. So that really did happen.
Weird.
It's so weird.
Like, I can understand wanting to pin it on this guy, but there's nobody pushing back. It doesn't sound like. You can just, he's dead. He killed himself. You can just be like,
And
case
Sarah's
closed.
pushing back, and that's it. But even so, you can
Right.
just say, she's a grieving mom.
Right.
Who wants more answers than we have. This is what we have, period.
Right. It's not, you wouldn't make two calls unless you were covering something up.
Right.
Legitimately.
What? Like, what are they trying to cover up? And that's, I'm sorry,
Police
guys.
involvement? Police involvement?
Something.
Police involvement?
Yes. I mean, it's got to be something like that, right?
Johnny Gotch stuff? I don't know.
I don't know either. So Sarah does not believe that Dill was responsible for Heather's abduction. She found FBI reports that a witness came forward and said that Dill had shaved his head 2 weeks before, like we already talked about, and claimed that Dill died by suicide because he was growing marijuana on his property when state police surrounded his home, and he didn't want to go back to prison. Sarah thinks the witness sketch was prepared from Dill's driver's license picture, that they were an identical match down to the shadows on his face. Sarah said she first saw the composite sketch published alongside a news story about 6 weeks after Heather's abduction, and Dill died like 3 days after the abduction. And so then all of a sudden I have pictures. I'll put do a side by side, but they are identical. It looks like,
Exact sketch of his driver's license.
yes.
What the hell?
And then there's a different picture of a different sketch of his full body, and that one doesn't look the same. So it's very interesting.
Yeah.
So if Dill wasn't responsible, then who was? The other person who often comes up as a possible suspect is a man named Christopher Bello. Bello is currently, I was hoping that he was currently in prison, but I don't think he is anymore, so gulp.
Gulp.
He's currently in prison for the manslaughter of his ex-girlfriend, Catherine Fetzer. In 1991, Bello and Catherine had a brief summer affair. They were both 26 years old and married to other people. It wasn't uncommon for Bello to drive by Catherine's house when he wanted to see her. His loud muffler would be the signal for Catherine to leave her home and meet him at the nearby grocery store parking lot so they could spend time together. This went on for a few months, but when the guilt got to be too much for Catherine, she called things off with Bello. A few months later, on the Tuesday before Thanksgiving in 1991, Catherine left a note for her husband, who still had no idea his wife had cheated on him, saying that she was, quote, restless and going to the mall. When she didn't return home that night, her husband had no idea where she could be, and she was never seen again.
Oh, no.
Deputies would find her locked car a day later, about 20 miles away from her house, in a gravel truck turnaround. The car had been wiped clean. There were no fingerprints, no bloodstains, no clues, and no sign of Catherine.
Wow.
Her husband would eventually find a box she kept hidden away that had a letter from Bello inside, and this is how he learned of the affair. He told police what he'd found, and Bello quickly became a suspect in Catherine's disappearance. Investigators interviewed Bello's wife, and she said a friend of her husband's had been at their apartment on the day Catherine disappeared to help Bello move a car that looked like Catherine's. When they talked to the friend, he said Bello asked him to move the car, which was the same make and model as Catherine's. He followed him to the same spot where Catherine's car was later found and watched as Bello sat in the car and wiped it down with a rag. He then brought Bello home. Yep.
Doesn't look good.
No.
None of it looks good. Nothing. None of this looks good.
No. Detectives were sure that Bello was responsible for Catherine's disappearance, but didn't have enough for an arrest. Like Heather's case, Catherine's would go cold.
God.
I know. when a new detective took over 8 years later.
Oh my God.
He was determined to prove that Bello had caused Catherine's disappearance. After looking into Bello's history, he believed it was possible Catherine wasn't his only victim. Mm-hmm. When he searched an apartment abandoned by Bello, he found a missing persons flyer and a briefcase that was left behind. First of all, like, who has briefcases? Like, this kind of guy, you know, he's got a briefcase that he's leaving behind in his like, I don't like that.
Attaché case. He has an attaché
because he works for the KSP.
Yeah, seriously.
So this missing persons flyer was for a 16-year-old girl named Christina Porco, who went missing from South Carolina in November of 1986. Christina left her home in Hilton Head, South Carolina, after getting into a fight with her mother. She had called a friend and asked them to meet her at the pool in their apartment complex. When her friend arrived, Christina wasn't there, but she had left behind her red sweater. She was never seen again.
Where are all these ladies? This is Johnny Gosch stuff.
Yes. I mean, I didn't get into all of them, but there are like multiple people that, like, mostly web sleuths thinks that Bello is connected to.
Yeah.
But it's just like never ending. And then this person disappeared and they've never seen again. And this person, and they all looked the same. And it's just like, where, like, how are we not finding these?
Because they were trafficked?
Yeah, something. Trafficking? But like, still, just not a shred of evidence to where they are, who did it. It's really upsetting.
It's extremely upsetting. Totally bizarre.
Yeah. So the detective was intrigued and started looking into other women who had gone missing or had been murdered in areas where Bello had lived. This is when he came across Heather's case. Bello was known for his scraggly hair and beard, his pot belly, and for the way his hands turned in at an odd angle.
Ding, bing, bing, bing.
He bore a striking resemblance to the composite sketch of Heather's attacker, even the one that looked identical to Dill. The two guys looked a lot alike.
Yeah, no matter how you slice it, Bello, it's not looking good for Bello either.
No. It turned out that Bello was living in Kentucky in 1995 when Heather was abducted. 3 days after the abduction, which just so happened to be the same day that Dill died by suicide, Bello left town. Both Dill, Heather, and Bello hung out with some of the same people. A phone call that was placed by Heather on the night before she disappeared was made from a payphone outside a bar that Bello liked to go to. There is also a striking resemblance between Heather Teague and Catherine Fetzer, and also Christina Porco. They honestly could all three be sisters.
Wild.
So in an interview, Bello's sister told journalists that she let her brother stay with her for a while in 2000. She lived in Evansville, Indiana, just across the river from where Heather was abducted. She told reporters that her brother had a favorite spot that he liked to visit along the river on the Kentucky side. Quote, "He liked the area of the lock and dam," she said. "It just so happened to be the same spot where Heather was last seen." Quote, "He would go off on his own like he was looking for something," she said. "He would get quiet and seem to become reclusive whenever he talked about the beach."
It's not good when your own sister is suspicious of your special beach spot.
She also said he kept a box of odds and ends with him. He once told her if anything ever happened to him, she should keep it safe.
Not your mementos, bro. Like creep mementos. Trafficking or serial killing mementos.
She looked in the box and found it contained important papers, but it also had a collection of women's jewelry inside. When he saw her looking through the box, he moved his belongings into a different box that had a lock. Police have tried to find this box, but haven't been able to locate it.
I just don't even know what to say.
There's really, what can you say? Finally, in November of 2003, Bello was arrested after being accused of molesting his niece. And I didn't get into, fuck this guy. He's a monster. Just like abusive and married a million times and raping everybody. And it's awful.
Yep.
While in custody, police were able to get him to confess to killing Catherine Fetzer. And the detective was like, "Yeah, it took about 4 hours, but I finally got him to crack."
Good Lord.
He said he'd shot her in his apartment and then threw her body in a dumpster.
And this was manslaughter charge. You get manslaughter for her?
They just don't have any evidence, I think.
Except for his confession.
Right, but I think even then it's not going to hold up. I think he confessed and then
Recanted.
pleaded guilty. In exchange, they gave him a manslaughter charge.
Got it.
Yeah, he said that he'd killed her because of the affair, because she'd called off the affair. So he pleaded guilty to manslaughter and was sentenced to 11 to 18 years in prison. I couldn't figure, I'd try to find him in the Ohio inmate system and he's not there, so I'm pretty sure he's out. Yeah, he was due to be released in 2021, so I think he did his 18
God,
years.
that is terrifying. This guy's out there.
I know, and in like probably Indiana, so...
Well done, dude.
Thank you. I really, honestly, I realized this right before we started recording, and I was like, shit, like he should be out by now. If it was 2003, and then it's like 18 years later, and he's
How
probably
old is he
out.
now, then? Can I take him? Can I take him?
Well, he was 26 in 91. Yeah.
No. He's barely older than me.
No.
Oh, no. I was 11. So he's 10 years old. Yeah, he's not that
shit.
old.
No,
he's only in
he's
his
not that old.
50s. I can't take a 50-year-old man. I was like, is he 75 or older?
He's not coming for you. He's coming for me.
Take it. He'll get to you through me. Sounds sadistic, and then you have to live with the guilt and stuff.
But
Damn it.
If he's coming from the south, he has to literally like go through me first. So anyway, God, I hate this. But yeah, I was like,
Us aside, like that is very scary. He's scary.
He is
either
scary.
Trafficking women or he's serial killing women. Either way, he's 50. He's in prime shape to continue that shit. Probably learn some cool techniques in prison on how to do it better.
I know.
And he's already doing it extremely well.
I know.
This is not good.
No, it's not good. I honestly was like, shit, dude, he's out. That's not good.
No.
So investigators haven't been able to find any evidence to charge Bello with Heather's abduction, but believe he's capable of killing others. I mean, clearly.
Yeah.
An FBI profile of Bello says he has many of the traits often found in serial killers. Investigators say they are looking into other cases to see if he could be a suspect for those as well.
Hurry up.
Seriously, I don't think they're working very hard. So nearly 30 years have passed since Heather disappeared, and sadly we don't know if she is dead or alive. In October 2021, human bones were found in the area where she went missing, but they were ruled out as hers. And I couldn't find out who they belonged to.
Yeah.
I tried to find, but they didn't say. Her mother has now spent more time looking for her daughter than she did parenting her.
I can't.
I know. Sarah will never stop trying to find justice for her daughter and just wants to know where she is. When talking about Heather, she said, quote, "So many things are in your heart that are always there. My memories are now frozen with missing posters. I kind of wonder sometimes if she was even real."
That is so devastating.
I know.
So sad.
And that's the story of the abduction of Heather Teague.
Get the word out, everybody. Get it out. This guy is dangerous, extremely dangerous. And this poor girl just completely vanished. Nothing. No trace.
Nothing. No.
That is so strange. How is that
know.
possible?
Well, I think it starts with Telescope Guy not doing anything.
Not doing anything.
And just like sitting on his laurel. I don't want him to think I'm a peeping creepo. I don't know. And then
Everybody rush out and get like one of those chuckets that you have for like Labradors. Just have one. Just keep it by your telescope in case you see something that you need to warn somebody. Have like some rubber bands with some notes nearby so you could just real quick creep in the bushes, rubby bandy, Chucky, saved.
Yep. Flash grenades.
Smoke bombs.
Air horns.
Bullhorn. There you go. If you're going to have a high-powered telescope, you also need a high-powered bullhorn. You need to be able to project your voice across the exact distance that the telescope allows you to see.
Yes. Yep.
It's still a responsible thing to do.
Ryan got one of those like high-powered flashlights. It's his new toy. And we were laughing. It's probably not funny because it's kind of true, but we live really close to a army base here.
Yeah.
And he was like flashing it up into the sky. And I was like, they're going to come and tell you to turn that off. Like,
Totally.
it's going to mess with some sort of
Yes.
something.
A bunch of uniformed officers are going to show up and be like, bro, yeah, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think
But if you got one of those, you could flash it even in the daytime. It's so
Yeah.
high powered. Get him in his eyes and he can't see anymore.
Yeah, SOS her, SOS. Mm-hmm. We all need to have a plan for this. Also, or just use your telescope to look at the outer space and not the ladies on the beach.
Right.
If you're pointing your telescope down toward Earth, chances are you're going to get into some sort of trouble.
Yep.
One way or another.
Don't do it. Just don't look. Just keep your eyes closed at all times.
Yeah.
And then you don't have to
Yeah.
witness terrifying, awful things.
See no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil.
Right.
Box self in it, close it. Done.
Done. So,
Nothing
there you
bad could
go.
ever happen to you.
You heard it here first, folks.
God, that is so spooky and so sad. And no, thank you. 50 kinds of scary in that one.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
And I'm like, how? Yeah, the sister knows that he's a creep, so surely somebody knows something. The police obviously know something because they're trying to cover it up.
Right. I don't understand that. I still don't understand what that's all about. Like who, because it doesn't seem like they would be covering it up because this other total creep did it.
Unless
You know what I mean?
Somebody's friend or somebody's
I
helping
mean, he
him
only
in
got
some
11
way.
to 18 years for full-on murder of
Yeah.
another person. So
Exactly. So something suspicious-y there. Very suspicious-y. What do you guys think?
yeah, tell us what you think, or don't. Just go lock yourself in a box.
Yeah,
In
it
your
doesn't
house.
matter. No one's safe while this guy's free, specifically me. So thank you very much for that.
You're welcome. Thanks for watching.